Hey, welcome everyone to episode 221 of CS Radio. I'm J. Michael DeAngelis.
And I'm Natty Leach.
Natty, we're back after a long, long break. It's been
Uh,
almost 2 months.
I was shocked you had the number ready.
Well, luckily I had the I had our logo up as a test graphic earlier, and it said 220. So I was like, okay, we're 221. And I guess actually it's been over 2 months because we're into March now, and
Yeah,
we haven't recorded since December. So it's been almost 3 months.
it's been a while, but we have a lot of new toys, new things to showcase, all sorts of stuff.
Yes, so we are coming to you live from our new location, 3935 Walnut Street. And one of the great perks of this new building is CS Radio has its very own media studio. So this is our first recording in our new space. We're hoping that when you come back from spring break, we'll be back to weekly shows. We're going to start live streaming. We are doing some video recording today, but I'm here alone in the studio. Natty's coming to me via Zoom. I've got him up on the big screen. And so we might have to edit this one in post and get it up on YouTube. But we're hoping from now on, we'll be able to go right live to YouTube. It's an exciting new era. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be back on the podcast.
Our first studio recording, and I'm not even there in
You're not
person.
even there. I can't even be bothered to come in for a big day. I take full responsibility. We scheduled this for yesterday, and I just assumed my my Wednesday was wide open, but I had a really important meeting. So always look at your calendars, kids. It's a lesson for this week's CS Radio. Um, and it is sort of a weird timing because here we are. We're finally getting back to recording the semester, and everybody's leaving for spring break, Natty.
It's spring break. I think people have been leaving. We were talking about this since like earlier this week. I don't totally know how the students pull it off, but I talked to people and they're like, "Yeah, I'm taking 2 weeks off
It
for spring
is.
break."
It is really quiet today in the office. I think it's really quiet on campus. There's only about four of us in the office today, and so it's extra quiet. Not a lot of foot traffic. I
Gareth sends out those maps every morning, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there's basically no one there."
I've been hearing some grumblings all week long about no shows or appointments. Because yeah, I think spring break mode. By the time you're listening to this, it'll be the first day of spring break, or the first weekday of spring break, and so I think everybody's just in vacation mode and well deserved. It's been a long couple of weeks. I'm sure everybody's getting through their midterms and projects and assignments and recruiting. We've had a lot of recruiting coming to campus. It's been nice to see folks in our new space. And we know there's a lot of, traditional recruiting going on too, virtually and in person. So it's a busy time for everybody.
Yeah, it's really busy. My appointment schedule was mostly open, so I didn't even bother like closing anything. I had 3 people last night at 8 p.m. sign up for appointments early this morning.
Grab those slots before they leave for Cabo.
All 3 of them canceled in the morning. So
Ah,
I approved them within a few minutes, and then I guess they thought better of it, or maybe they thought it was for like when they were back, and they just assumed that we're already. Students always assume we're closed and not available over spring break, but
amazing. Yeah,
here
no,
we are.
we put I was working with our employer relations team today. It was their turn to create some social media content, and they were trying to figure out a good angle for a spring break post. And I was like, how about the angle is we're open.
Yeah.
We're not on spring break. So if you've got some downtime and you want to touch base with us, we're available. People have virtual appointments. If you're staying on campus, you can come on over. We'd be happy to see you in the new space. And yeah, spring break's definitely a time to relax, but I think spring break's a great opportunity to, if you want, do a little bit of career work, do a little bit of networking, do a little bit of career exploration.
I think it's good not to have anything on your schedule, but then yeah, let it be a chance for you to ease into some things. If you haven't done networking yet, I talked to a lot of first year students like spring break's a good time to ease into it because you could either lean on the research side of it where you don't have to exhaust yourself any further by having a ton of conversations. You could just kind of sit back at your own pace, browse LinkedIn, look through the Penn alumni database, look through handshakes, try to identify certain companies that you're interested in and see if there's any Penn alumni working there. You can do a lot of that like reconnaissance work without having to drain yourself, I think is useful. Or if you are a very social person, you could think of spring break as being your opportunity to network and talk to people. Your schedule is going to be much more free. That could be with either people that you reach out to at these companies, or it could be just your friends. I mean, we've talked about it on the past on podcasts. Is like your friends and your peers are also an important part of your network. And many times, people who are going home for spring break get a chance to see friends or connect with people who aren't necessarily at Penn, but are still close to them. And you can learn and hear about all the amazing stories that they've been going through over the last few semesters, what their plans are this summer. I think it's still a good opportunity to even like think about your social experiences also as being productive in terms of networking. You don't have to turn your social things into networking if you don't want to, but you are being productive in some sort of way because you are hopefully learning a little bit about your friends that you haven't necessarily gotten a chance to connect with in a while.
Yeah, we just put out a really great little YouTube short that my work study Carson put together about how to ace a networking call, and just like I was
I
really
saw that, and he's in Huntsman, right? He was sitting in the, yeah, I saw
yeah,
that
yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, but I was really pleased that the angle that he took was to really approach it, you know, professionally but casually. Don't put too much pressure on it. You know, have your questions, learn about that person's experience. You know, remember, you know, we stress this all the time, an early networking call in particular, you're not it really shouldn't be like, you shouldn't have an ask other than to information gather. So you want to learn what that person's journey was. You know, how did they get from Penn to whatever their current job is? What's the culture like at that office? What has their experience been? And you know, if you've got an ask, it's sort of like, well, what advice do you have for me as someone looking for an internship or a full-time job at that employer? What tips can you give me? But it's definitely not like, hey, who can you, you know, I was going to say, who can you introduce me to? Because I think it is okay to say, is there anyone else you think I should talk to, another Penn person or someone, you know, maybe you're in a different department that I'm interested in. Do you know anyone in the marketing department where I'd like to work that I could connect with? So that sort of ask is okay, but like, not who can you put who can you put my resume in front of? How, you know, can you get my foot in the door? Those kinds of things. Just, you know, it's just about having a conversation. So a real shout out to Carson for doing that. Also, I thought a very funny ending where his friend got a little too close with the camera, and he's like,
I
ah,
saw that it was like moving closer
yeah,
and closer the
really.
whole time.
They're doing a great job. Our entire team, Alan and Carson, our work studies who've been putting out a lot of great social media content, but also our office. In fact, I'm told while I'm down here in the studio, upstairs in the career services suite, some content is being filmed. They wouldn't tell me what it is, but it's for next week's social media post. So I'm really excited to. It's Dustin and Laura cooking something up.
Not people you should be trusting.
Well, I do have full editorial control, so if it doesn't go out, I think you'll know why.
Also,
But
I'm
yeah,
just kidding. Those two are definitely on top of things. I saw you sent out an email earlier. Was that yesterday that you're like, here's the schedule, and like a month from now, Dustin's already locked and loaded with his social media post.
yes, that's correct. Dustin had the last Thursday of this month, and a couple weeks ago he was on a ski trip, and he filmed up on the mountain at the peak of the mountain. He filmed some career tips while he was skiing, and he's like, "I'm going to put this in socials." I was like, "This is amazing." So I really thank our staff. They're just doing a great job. People are really getting into it. So super.
Dustin's really good at working ahead in a way that I am not. Whenever I work on him with a project, he like specifically will wait until closer to the event and then reach out to me and be like, "All right,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
now
because
an okay
he
time?"
knows it's not good to ask you too far in advance. We discussed nothing about what we would be discussing today.
Not a word was spoken about what this podcast episode
In
was going to
fact,
be about.
as I was getting ready to come downstairs, Dustin said, "Well, what are you guys talking about?" And I went, "Oh," I was like, "I
The world needs people like Dustin more than it
yeah,
needs people like us sometimes.
it does it needs a planner." But you know, I think CS radio is best when it's spontaneous. So I definitely had, you know, I was definitely had spring break on the mind, definitely had um, the studio on the mind too. And I thought actually something that I don't think have talked about on the show, but it's something that comes up for you and I, and for I think most people in any sort of job and professional setting, is like performance review and talking about your goals and all those sorts of things.
Do we
Uh,
have those coming up? Did I miss that?
no, well, we will. We will at the end of the semester. Certainly, they haven't like set the alarm off yet. Hey, make sure you're doing this, but it'll be time soon enough. And I was thinking about something today, something else I was working on. I was like, I should really like go into Workday now and write this up while it's fresh in my mind. Um, but I think obviously something that I'll be talking about, and I think you should definitely put it into yours, is like the amount of work that we did um, getting this studio ready. It's been a
It, it's
long road.
it's been a lot. It's been a lot of wires, a lot of cables, a lot of lifting, a lot of boxing and unboxing.
Yeah, we've
Um,
still got some cable work to do, but it is really great that it's here and it's working. And I think we both learned a lot about project management and when our particular way of managing a project clashes with perhaps other folks. It was a big group effort. It was not just Natty and I, but our colleague and friend Chris from Penn Global, because this is a shared space, and Penn Global is going to be producing a lot of media. So they had their hand in this very heavily. But we also had to coordinate with the people building the building and with our vendors. I do want to give a shout out to our partners at B&H Video and Photo. They were really great partners in helping us select what equipment was necessary. And Mitch Jacobson, who came and did all the installations. Mitch is a super cool guy. And I'm looking forward to reconnecting with Mitch after spring break and having him help us go the final mile here and help us with some tweaks, some fine tuning.
Mitch was amazing. I need more of Mitch's energy in my life, which is what I think the next thing we need to do is write down all the things that we're like, wait a second, he showed us this, but we forget, or like, oh, how does
Yeah.
this work? And he can
Yeah.
give us another
So
rundown.
what, excitement and personal feelings aside, like, what did you feel you learned, if anything, from this experience, from sort of a project management or professional development as
Uh,
aspect?
Let me think. I mean, there's definitely some like on the fly things we had to deal with where either our expectations were not quite what we were thinking things were going to be when we got into the space, so we had to adapt a little bit. Um, I found there were times where I was much more flexible of like, it'll be fine, but also times where I was like really precise for how I wanted things to work. Like
Yeah.
the acoustic tiles behind you, I was like weirdly obsessed with making sure they were lined up. And
If
as
I
you are
just
pointing towards it, I cannot help but keep noticing that the little blue tile above you should be a gray tile. So I'm gonna have to swap that one out.
so if we get the video of this out, which I think we will, you'll see directly behind my shoulder we have some patterned acoustic tile. Natty spent a lot of time figuring out what this pattern would be, and Dustin and I helped him install it. But it was all I just want to say it was all Natty. He had a real vision for this. I think it looks great. There's one misplaced color, so we're
The
gonna
pattern broke.
we're gonna fix that, and maybe we'll buy another pack. Maybe I can see on the camera. Yeah, maybe we could go down. And I've just noticed the lights have gone out. That's another continuing issue we're having in the
Wait, did
room.
they just go out now? I didn't even notice, which is
Okay,
kind
well
of an
that's
interesting.
that's good to know. And now
Oh,
they're back
there.
on. Yeah,
I
see
did
now
notice that. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think learning to deal. So when you're working on a project, you have a vision, right? So we
Yeah.
and I wrote up a document very early on, probably 2 years ago, about what we wanted our ideal podcast studio to look like, and we wrote up a long list of equipment and furniture and things that we would want, features we would want, and we had a little bit of a back and forth. Couple of things got cut early on, but overall, I mean, pretty close. We got what we wanted. And then you go to the next step and you start talking with vendors, and we say, "This is our vision," and they go, "Well, you don't really want that. What you want is this." And boy, golly, I found out very quickly what I didn't know. Right, so I'm a little bit of a AV amateurist, and then just dipping our toes into what the next level of professional camera and audio equipment is. I was like, oh, I'm a little bit in over my head, which is an exciting place to be, right? I love an opportunity to learn, particularly learn new tech. learn new skills, and it's a lot. I've got a lot to learn still.
We have so much more to still get out. B&H was so helpful though, because like you said, there were things that we didn't know we needed. There were things that I didn't even remember after we ordered it. We were unboxing and we're like, oh, what's the difference between this thing and this thing?
Yeah, for
And we were
sure.
still confused. But then having Mitch actually come in
And that
person,
like
set things
it's
up was so
so great.
helpful.
Like it was a really ideal experience. There was a lot on the line. There was a lot on the line financially. I think there was a lot on the line reputationally for you and I, right? Because we were the ones that said we think this is important. We have a vision for this.
Well, jury's still out on our the realization of our vision. The other thing that I think that I have not quite learned yet, but I know we need to learn about this new space is how do we best get it utilized, not just by us. I think we have
For sure.
a decently clear vision of how we want to use it for the podcast, but how do we bring in other people to reap the benefits of all the things we
Yeah,
set up
yeah.
here throughout our office?
And I think a big first step in that is first we have to become masters of this studio so we know what's possible and we know how to help people. It's too complicated for anybody to just step in on their own.
Yeah.
So once we've learned the ropes, and of course once Lorna is back from her semester in Washington, we'll have a extra helping hand. That'll be an also a major thing because I'm managing to fly solo today in the room, but boy, oh boy, I wish you were here. I wish somebody was at the controls, just in case.
Yeah, it's kind of nerve wracking when you're sitting there because you can't, so much is far away. You can't see a lot of those things. So we're trying to think of ways to get that working. And I know there's people in our office that are super excited about this. I'm sure that Joseph, I'm surprised he hasn't already been down in
I
the
know,
space,
I
like
know.
tinkering around. I think he's being very patient of letting us figure things out first.
I
And
bought that green screen just for Joseph.
in the meantime, as we're figuring things out here, he is arming himself in one of the offices up on the third floor with more and more gear as he gets
It's true.
more lights and more
He has
webcam
set up
arms and all sorts of things.
basically a one-man studio for himself, including bird's eye view for resume reviews. So, there's a lot of excitement about the new space. That I think something that I'm taking away is it is it's important. This did take a lot of planning, and it's not, Natty and I fly by the seat of our pants when it comes to sort of this podcast and event planning in general. But that's because we're confident in what we do. We know how to run a career services workshop. We know how to run this podcast. So stepping into something that we had less confidence, but it was it was a new thing, designing a studio, and the people we were working with that were designing the building, who were terrific, also were like, well, we're going to consider you the expert because we've never designed a studio. We don't know what should be there, so that's on you. And I also have never designed a studio. We looked at a lot of pictures. We watched a lot of YouTube. We just like pointed at Conan O'Brien and said, this is what we want. So it was really important to learn from experts, to talk to B&H, to be very clear about what we wanted. Um, it was difficult at first because we also weren't given a budget. And so, we kind of had to go to B&H and say, just blue sky it for us. Here's what we want, and then put a price tag on it after, and we'll come back, which is not their preferred way of doing it. They'd like to know how much money you have to spend. But they were really great, and they gave us a couple of different versions of things so that we could say, okay, so this is what we need at bare minimum, and here's what we need. Here's what would be great if we could add that on, and a lot of back and forth. And then finally, and relying on their expertise, but also asking a lot of questions and being really clear about what we wanted. They put a couple of things on there that I was like, I don't need like a $5,000 TV monitor. I think we've got about 100 monitors in the closet that we can just hook up and use as a monitor. And they said, well, you can do that, but here's why you maybe want something different. And then we negotiated down to something closer to what they had suggested, but at a, a much lower price. So that was all good. And then finally having the expert come in, Mitch, and really explain things to us. And to be, and it's so great to know that we can rely on him, that we can get back to him with questions and be like, hey, we did a couple of test recordings and we're noticing, for example, like the first 30 seconds, there's a lot of digital distortion on these recordings and what's going on there. And could you make some suggestions? Or we really want to be able to have the cameras do this and we haven't figured out how to do that. Can you let us know? So, not being afraid to ask questions, seeking out mentorship. Because I think, if Mitch had just been like, hey, I'm just here to plug these things in and leave and not teach you how to use it, we would have had to go find somebody, whether that would
Yeah.
have been YouTube. And Mitch also left us a whole bunch of YouTube links to go through to learn how to do
I
things on.
gotta look at that. Is there a folder where that is? I should
It
look
is.
more
It's
at
it's in the
those.
Mitch Works folder. So
All right, I'll check that
yeah,
out.
yeah. We should probably move those to a shared drive somewhere so we can just click on them. But he was really, it was super beneficial. And I always when I have an experience like that, it reminds me that's how I should be. So when my colleagues are doing social media things and they've got questions, I should remind myself that that's just because I know how to do it doesn't mean everybody knows how to do it. We should, I should be patient and I should have answers. I should not be afraid to say, oh, I don't know that. Let me get back to you. I was on a call this morning with someone from ISC talking to a whole big group of people from all over the university of all different, staff, faculty, administrators about some changes that are happening with email. And this man was a saint because people were asking what I thought were some pretty like, oh boy, kind of questions, right? Like, y- yeah, you've used email before, right? And he was just, oh, what a good question and very calm. And he said, and this is how that works. Or quite a few people asked things. And he said, this is a new product and I don't know how that works. It's a great question. I'm writing it down and I'm going to get back to you. Or we'll put that in the FAQ that we're working on. I was like, that is such model leadership and listening. And that's something I really feel like everybody should try and bring to a workplace, whether you're a boss or not. If there's something that you're in charge of or something you're trying to teach people, it's so important to just be so open to what their questions and concerns are and not judge them, not just not have the expectation that everybody has the knowledge base that you do, even if it's something like email that you think, well, my God, every email's been in everybody's life almost their whole lives at this point. Some people are just like, well, it's just this magic thing, right? I don't think about how it works. It just
The
works.
message appears in front of me. But
Right.
it's something we teach all of our PCAs. We teach all of our graduate assistants when we're hiring and training new advisors. Like we talk all the time about how it will feel like when people ask you questions that you want to have the answers, but it's okay to say that you don't. And I think students respect that when we talk to them. I think anyone, to your point, in any workplace will respect someone who can say, I don't know that right now, but I can follow up with you and take a look. And it works well for our office because we can crowdsource. We have so many people. We're all generalists anyway. But a lot of times, like someone might approach you for a really specific question about working at a theater, or
Hmm.
someone might approach me about music industry or
Hmm.
whatever it might be. We all have like our own little niche areas that we can add to if we kind of open it up. But in the moment, it's okay not to know everything all the time.
So those are just some thoughts that I've been having about this process, and you know hope that I keep it with me, and I hope that when you're working on something, whether you're working on a group project or you have an assignment as an intern this summer, or you're just starting out at work, those are some things that you'll take into the workplace with you as well. Um, Speaking of summer, again, we've been away for so long. It's our first chance to mention that career services summer funding has opened up. You want to talk a little bit about that, Nanny? I know you've been involved a little bit in the process this year.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. I'm going to be reviewing our first window of applicants later today. So we are in the middle of it. There are points throughout the entire semester. So if you didn't apply to this first window, there's another window coming up. I don't know what that date is offhand. But there, I think we do 4 rounds of reviews.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
last year, I think we even did a 5th round just to continue to offer as much resources we have available. It's something like in the 400 to $500,000 range we have access to give students who are underpaid or unfunded great career opportunities that align with what they're interested in. Especially for those who are basically like middle income or like middle funded in
Hmm.
need for from Penn. The reason for that is all the high need students already have resources available to them. So we try to really fill that need for the people who are not quite at that high need level, but still receive scholarships or funding from Penn in other sorts of way to make sure they can still have a really good summer experience in the area of their choice. The biggest thing is you need to have an offer letter from the thing that you're planning on doing and give us a really clear budget of what your
Right.
plans are for that
Right.
area to be able to articulate why this will be helpful for you. So it could be talking through, I'm going to be doing research in this field at this institution in California, and the housing that I'm able to secure that's most affordable is a little further away. So it'll help to also get a Metro Pass or whatever it might be. Kind
Hmm.
of lining that all out is super useful. We have all those details on our website if you go to careerservices.upenn.edu. And there is a section on how to find funding. And one of the first things on that page is our
Our
summer
summer
funding
funding.
option.
There's one pretty notable change for this year, which is if you're doing a research position at Penn, that is going to be directly through Kerf instead of through us this year.
Yep, the curve specific stuff will go to them. So just be mindful when you're applying. And similar, this has been the same in last year's, but if you're getting funding from other sources at Penn, it can't go above a certain threshold. I believe it's $5,000. So you have to let us know if you are getting funding other places. That's totally fine, but we can't exceed a certain amount. Just a rule from what we're able to provide. Um, so just let us know about that.
And what we're speaking of is specifically for current undergraduates. There is a separate funding line for graduate students. It's a little bit smaller, but the information is in the same place. So if you're a graduate student and you're looking for a little bit of assistance, there is a separate process for that. You can find it in the same find funding place.
Yep. And
Wonderful.
the only real exception is programs that have like big application fees. We don't cover those
Yeah,
programs that are like making you pay to participate in that
right.
program. Like our main goal is for you to find a great opportunity. And if it's unfunded or unpaid,
Or
having us
underpaid. Yep.
underpaid, finding a way to have us kind of fill that gap as opposed to like us paying for you to apply to this international program or something like that. Um, we I think allow students to do it up to 2 different years during their time. So if you have received it in the past, if
Mhm.
you are a sophomore and maybe now it would be helpful for junior summer, you can definitely still apply. I think it's after two though. We only do two
Yeah,
times.
I believe that's correct, and it's good for any returning student. So if unfortunately
Yes.
if you're about to graduate, we cannot fund you for the summer. But if you are going to be returning in the fall, uh, we are happy to have your application.
Yeah.
Well, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we can also a lot of us as advisors don't review those applications for like assistance beforehand, but our PCAs are often willing to take a look. So if you
Oh,
wanted
that's
to
great.
have your essay reviewed or anything, talking to one of our peer advisors can be helpful. Some of our peer advisors themselves have received funding in the past, so they can talk about their own experience too. So while us as advisors won't necessarily provide that feedback because we don't want to be in a conflict of interest of working with a student individually and then also reviewing the eligibility for their funding later, our peer advisors are really good at that.
Well, I hope everyone is enjoying their spring break. I hope you're someplace warm. It's a little windy here in Philadelphia. I don't know what the weather's going to be like this coming week, but it's a little windy right now. And boy, when spring break, we've kind of gotten through all the big career fairs. There'll be one more in April, a virtual just-in-time fair that's open. It's part of the Ivy Plus consortium, so a whole bunch of schools participating in that. And the registration for that will open this coming Friday, the 14th. And we've got a lot of programming still on the board. I'm going to be very busy in the back half of the semester. I'm always over at the library as part of their Hosley Digital Fellows program. In the coming weeks, Joseph and I are going to be doing something about getting your LinkedIn ready for the job search. I'm going to be doing my improv for interviewing over there in April, and I'm going to be doing that a whole bunch of times for SP2. I'm going to be doing it for SP2 students, and I'm also going to be doing it for faculty and staff. So that's been real exciting that that's taken off. I didn't run the workshop, but I did a talk about the importance of improv and how you can use those techniques when you're preparing to network or go on an interview as part of our alumni career tools webinar, and that went great. I got a lot of great feedback, so that's a really exciting time for me, and I'm looking forward to that. And then it's still only March, but graduation is going to be coming around the corner before you know it, and we will be over at the bookstore for Grad Fest. I don't have the dates right in front of me. I believe it starts on the 18th.
March 19th through the 21st.
There you
I
go.
have it right behind my Zoom window because I just signed up for a time with you to go over there
Thank
early
God.
on a Wednesday morning.
So we'll be in the lobby at the bookstore, and we're going to be asking all our graduating seniors to please, please, please fill out their graduation plans, their first destination survey. Let us know. Do you have a job offer? Are you going to graduate school? Are you waiting to hear from graduate school? Are you waiting to hear for a job offer? Are you still looking? And all of those answers are completely fine. We just want to touch base and know and get a sort of barometer reading of where things are with the class. And we'll keep following up. The survey stays open through Thanksgiving. And it's nobody's judging you on where you are. We just kind of want to know, and we want to know if we can be of help. So if you are still seeking, or maybe you're just getting started seeking, which for a lot of industries that's totally acceptable and fine. You're going to not start your you're ramping up your applications until closer to graduation because they hire as needed. We are here to help. And of course, if you come by the grad school, we will have the Grad Fest at the bookstore. We're going to have a raffle. We're going to have a great gift basket of stuff given away, and there's snacks. There's always snacks. So at least come by and have a snack. And yeah, Natty and I'll be there Wednesday morning. Please, for the love of God, bring me coffee. Natty doesn't drink coffee. Bring him a cold beverage.
Mountain Dew is fine.
Mountain Dew will do it. So really looking forward to it. Hope you're all having a great spring break. Natty, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we're here in podcast land again in our new studio. And next week, I hope you're sitting across from me at the table and not on the big screen.
I'll find a way there. Hey, we've never been seen in the same place together before, so on camera, I guess at least. So who knows?
It's true. It's true. Well, again, we're so excited to be back. We got a lot of exciting things planned. Can't wait to get the show up on YouTube. Can't wait to finish out the semester strong. Hope you're having a safe and happy spring break, and we'll see you next time on CS Radio. Oh God, I'm my father. I'm pointing at the camera.
Now there's a point.
Be good to each other.
Didn't used to have a point. I guess we didn't have that technology.
This podcast is produced by the University of Pennsylvania Career Services Office, a division of University Life. It was created by J. Michael DeAngelis and Amy Lynn Kirshner. Your hosts and producers are J. Michael DeAngelis and Natty Leach, and it's produced, mixed, and edited by Lorna Lynn. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at Penn Career Serve. We'll see you next time on CS Radio.